Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on education. In this video we're going to look at the work of Henry Giroux on education. Henry Giroux, an American academic and educator, is one of the leading figures in critical pedagogy since the 1980s. Building on the work of Paulo Freire, Giroux argues that schools are political spaces where students are not only taught knowledge, but also social values, norms and roles. He highlights the ways education can either reproduce inequality or empower students as critical, engaged citizens. Giroux's work stresses that education is never neutral. Schools operate within broader political, social and economic systems, often reflecting dominant ideologies. In neoliberal contexts, he argues, education is increasingly market-orientated, focused on efficiency, accountability and measurable outcomes rather than critical thinking or social justice. For Giroux, this means that schools often teach students to accept the status quo, prioritising competition and conformity over creativity, participation and democracy. This mirrors Freire's critique of the banking model of education. Students are treated as passive recipients rather than active participants in shaping their world. Giroux describes schools as contested spaces where different forces, teachers, students, leadership teams, policymakers and communities negotiate meanings, values and practices. Rather than being neutral transmitters of knowledge, schools are arenas where social and political struggles play out. Students can either be empowered or marginalised depending upon how curricula, pedagogy and the school culture are structured. Giroux emphasises that education should cultivate critical consciousness, enabling students to question power, recognise inequality and act to change unjust systems, continuing Freire's focus on empowerment. For Giroux, teachers are crucial public intellectuals. Their role goes beyond delivering content. They are mediators of knowledge, culture and social values. Teachers should encourage students to think critically, challenge authority and connect learning to real-world issues. However, Giroux warns that neoliberal policies such as standardised testing and performance metrics undermine teachers' autonomy. When teachers are constrained by narrow assessment criteria, they have less opportunity to foster critical thinking and civic engagement. Giroux advocates for a pedagogy of empowerment, closely aligned with Freire's problem-posing model. Key features include dialogical learning. Students and teachers engage in conversation rather than one-way knowledge transfer. Students analyse social, political and economic structures, questioning inequality, injustice and fostering critical thinking. Students are also engaged in civic life. Education should prepare students to participate actively in a democratic society, and schools should value diverse perspectives, cultures and experiences rather than imposing a dominant culture. In this model, students are not passive recipients but active participants who co-create knowledge and understand their role in society. Giroux is highly critical of neoliberal educational reforms which emphasise standardised testing and measurable outcomes, market-based competition between schools and narrow vocational skills over critical thinking or civic education. He argues that such policies depoliticise education, turning students into consumers of credentials rather than active citizens. They reproduce social inequality by privileging those with prior advantages, cultural capital, resources, support networks. Giroux's ideas have been widely praised for highlighting the political and ideological nature of education and extending Freire's concepts to contemporary schooling, particularly under neoliberalism. He's also been praised for emphasising teacher agency and the importance of critical pedagogy, and linking education to social justice and citizenship. However, he's not without his criticisms. Implementing dialogical critical pedagogy is difficult in standardized test-driven systems, and critics argue that Giroux underestimates structural constraints on schools, teachers and students, making his ideas idealistic. Some claim his model prioritises social critique over core academic skills, which may limit employability in the current economy due to its focus on activism. Despite these critiques, Giroux provides a powerful framework for understanding education as a site of social and political struggle, rather than a neutral transmission of knowledge. For AQA A-level sociology students, Giroux can be applied to different theories of education. Giroux's ideas support Marxist and critical approaches and contrast with functionalist and human capital perspectives. Can also be applied to the role of teachers, Giroux seeing teachers as mediators of knowledge and civic values. Giroux's ideas can also be applied to globalization and neoliberalism, illustrating how economic policies shape the way in which children learn, and looking at social inequality, exploring how education reproduces or challenges power structures. Giroux complements Freire's ideas and provides a modern Western perspective on critical pedagogy, highlighting challenges in contemporary market-driven schooling systems. For sociology students, Giroux's ideas provide a counterpoint to functionalist perspectives, offering a vision of education as a tool for social justice, democratic participation, and critical consciousness in late modern societies. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on education, looking at the work of Henry Giroux on education. Thanks for watching.